Welcome back to Moon Harbor Heroes. Today's issue is Storyteller, issue 19, Home Sweet Home. On the cover, we see a miniature version of Brook River inside a snow globe. It is being shaken aggressively, and the townsfolk inside look panicked. Holding the snow globe is a man who we only see from the lips down, but those lips are pulled into a sinister smile. We turn the page and our story begins. Our comic opens on the storyteller, drinking a steaming beverage on a snow-covered porch. Unlike normally, he is wrapped in a robe and wears slippers. He looks at the reader and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you would make it here, even through the snow. It's quite pretty, isn't it? All gleaming and cold, like faceless corporations, though truth be told, there may yet be hope for our fair tiny town, even as gentrification barrels down. Will our hero succeed, or will she end up alone? We'll find out in this issue, Home Sweet Home." In the next panel, the storyteller pours the reader a cup of hot cocoa. As he hands us the mug, we can see that the cover of this issue is printed on it. We turn the page and our story begins.
All right, flipping our next card. And it is the Four of Spades, which I believe brings us back to our battlefield. So where are we in the battlefield? Let me think for a moment. I think we're in the battlefield museum, right? Like the gift shop. It's like the sort of bridge between Main Street and the larger like park like battlefield itself, and it's sort of the museum and the educational theater and the gift shop, and it's kind of all of these things put together. Get your maps of where the different spots of the battle took place, and it's all of those different things. It's all of those different places that you live that like is where you live, and it's where all of this kind of stuff happens, right? It's where your reenactors walk around and give their little scripted speeches. It's all good. It's all very good. And it's just this like cute little, quaint little space. And unfortunately, it is in danger. Phil, what is happening in our little reenactment museum?
I think that an unknown entity has vandalized one of the exhibits.
No. Oh, it's very upsetting. This will not stand. This cannot stand.
When you say unknown entity, do you mean like an alien or like?
I think it just means that something got vandalized and no one knows who did it.
Okay.
I don't like that at all. All right, roll us a d6 and tell us how well our hero does at fixing this, at making this right.
That is 4.
Hero, you saved the day. You managed to let me and honestly, this one is so broad that I'm gonna kind of ask you, what does saving the day, what does being the hero look like in this situation? I think the specific situation is that our battlefield reenactors showed up bright and early that day to get their costumes on, and they came in and there was a diorama with like big life-size mannequins that like and the mystery of it is that like it's kind of a closed room mystery deal where the doors were not busted open, like nobody broke in, but the mannequins have been rearranged into some very crude positions. And it's just it's very upsetting, and like families were just walking in and they saw this, and it is the greatest controversy that has happened to this town in the last 10 years. They call it Mannequin Gate. It's a disaster. It's a tourism disaster.
I love it.
So what does being the hero look like in this situation?
Okay, I mean, I think it definitely looks like a super sleuth. Like this is the Scooby-Doo episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of had this idea, sort of like thinking about what's going on outside of in the real world, not in Moon Harbor, but just with like the fact that people are finally speaking out about the historical problems with some monuments, like the fact that like a lot of Confederate soldiers are being idolized right now, and like people are vandalizing and making themselves known and using their freedom of speech in that way. So I was thinking maybe like at first it seems like it's like not a really serious thing, like it just seems like ridiculous, but then we come to find out that it's actually like these kids that are trying to use their voices and they're only just learning how.
Ooh, I love that. And so the question then is, do you tell anyone, I guess, is my question.
I think that together, I'd help them learn how to organize a movement to change the way that part of, at least that area of the battlefield, maybe represents history. It's not going to happen overnight, but putting the wheels in motion.
I love it. I wasn't sure that I was going to get hit with real genuine emotion in this game, and yet here we are. I feel very positive. These kids have shown a real there's a real political youth oriented movement, and it's basically, and I think one very short term gain is that that diorama is ultimately taken down because they managed to create a very compelling case that the people in that diorama are not people that should have a big romantic diorama, and so it kind of causes they're able to organize in a very effective tactical way, and it's because of your guidance. You help them become something better than what they were, which is what a real hero should be.
Yeah, and there's definitely one of those scenes where the hero realizes what happened and then goes to the kids and is like, guys, if you're gonna vandalize, think of a better way.
Yeah, good. I like that. I do think there is one scene that I'd love to ask the villain about, because I think there's an opportunity to just get some good villain ham in. Is what does our mayoral candidate react when now there's a youth oriented political movement sparked by our godly heroine that specifically they are trying to oppose?
Oh, our mayoral candidate is one of those people who is like, it's our history, we shouldn't get rid of this. It's it's one of the people, that's the same sort of people who are upset about Confederate monuments being vandalized or removed. That's the same type of person.
I love it. So a monster is what I got. Yeah. And then they
Yes, correct.
are grinding their teeth, and I think we get a shot of them crumpling up a newspaper and throwing it in a trash can. All right, I flipped the 10 of diamonds, which means that our next threat is we're back in the farmer's market, y'all. We're back in the farmer's market. I'm so excited. By the way, Hero, your renown is now 4. You'll find out what that means very, very soon. But for now, we are back in the farmer's market, and I think it's a Saturday morning, so it's flea market day. So the parking lot to the farmer's market is full of tents and trucks and playing card tables, and everybody in town is out here with a blanket full of everyday objects, and everybody is trying to make a deal. Before I even learn what the threat is, I want to ask our hero one very extremely important question.
Yes.
What did you just buy at the farmer's market? Or at the flea market? At Saturday morning flea market at the farmer's market?
A giant hat.
A giant hat? What style of hat? Are we talking cowboy hat? Are we talking baseball hat? Give me the
sun hat.
Sun
with
hat.
a giant rim, a wide rim. She's wearing a
Very
maxi
good.
dress.
I love it.
She's got big sunglasses on, but it's
It's
like that light brown tan color. Not okay, I don't want people to mistake this. This is like a tweed hat, but a giant tweed sun hat.
good. I'm glad that I asked that question. All right. Villain, it is Saturday morning at the flea market. What has gone horribly wrong?
Dear valued flea market customers, we are so sorry to report that due to unforeseen circumstances, the flea market today has to be canceled. Again, we are so sorry for the inconvenience. We hope to see you back next week.
No. Oh my, no. Oh, this is not good.
Riot.
Right. Somebody yells that immediately. Just straight up riot. And nothing quite happens at first, but the suggestion has been floated. Also, the fact that the idea that they announced that immediately and someone just immediately just yells that, very funny to me.
It's the same guy.
Riot? No? Okay. All right. Villain roll is 2d6.
The number is a 2.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
All right. Hero, you managed to stop the threat, but it's messy. How do you stop the threat? Who do you save? What goes wrong along the way? And do you get hurt, or is there collateral damage?
I think maybe I get hurt. I'm trying to think should I be thinking of this these consequences as like life or death consequences.
I think that's up to your interpretation. You can kind of tell us like the specific threat that you handle, and I guess the consequences it either takes the consequences that either you pay or that like the area pays, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah. So basically the flea market is closed and we have to go home. That's
And
the
people and people are furious. Like
Yeah.
this is a town tradition.
The people in this town get angry so easily.
It's very Springfield. It's very it's very Simpsons. It's very hey.
I love it. Okay, so maybe like a fight breaks out. There's like an actual fight, like a fist fight.
Yeah.
Like okay, so the police show up and they're because people aren't leaving. They're like, we're gonna stay. This is our space.
You can't stop the flea market.
Yeah, and maybe, like maybe they're trying to stop the flea market because like they're thinking about doing something to the area where it's happening, like changing the makeup of it, I guess. And people are like, "No, we want to be a part of this community moment. We want to be together." And then like people start showing up to like try to get rid of them, and eventually the police show up and like a fight happens. And I think the way that my hero gets hurt is she steps between two people, a police officer and a person, and gets hit by somebody.
Okay. Yeah.
Did that get too serious too fast?
Nope. That's anyone can wear the mask. That's how the magic happens. Yeah, and I think like that feels like a real moment where like your status in the community is going to like have a lot of pull, which is to say like, you are on the front pages as the person that has like stopped fires and saved people trapped in caves, and like you are now at and are very specifically like at the front of this very big movement to like both protect the communal spaces of the town, and also like because of your advising of these young people, like help challenge sort of the problematic elements of the town's history. Like you are at this role, and sort of I think once again we get to see, let me give them a name. Their name is Flash Byline. It's a very on the nose name for a reporter, but it's the most comic book reporter name that I could think of. Flash has once again snapped your picture, like getting into a scuffle with a police officer, and you are once again like at the forefront of this. Like you are increasingly becoming this very political figure in the city. You've taken an injury. Because you've taken an injury, until you recover that injury, either by spending a point of inspiration or by having a moment of quiet with someone that you trust, you will roll one fewer dice in every time you try to save the city. The villain will roll one fewer dice, which
Ow.
means if they would roll one dice, they're going to roll two dice and take the lower result.
Oh God. Okay. I'm down for some hardships. Let's see what happens.
So now I'm going to flip our next card. Now, mind you, we have 5 cards left in our little miniature deck that I've cut for this recording, and there is a Joker somewhere in these 5 cards. What that means is when I flip that card, we have our downfall, which is when you are confronted by your major nemesis. Do you want to guess what the next card that I just flipped is?
Their Joker?
It's a Joker. That's a Joker right there.
Of course.
Which means it's time for our downfall. It is time to meet our grand villain.
Wait, I have an idea actually.
Go for it.
What if I got arrested?
I'm cool with that.
It just occurred to me. That's why I just said it. But maybe I like after that thing, the way that I got hurt was I got arrested.
Cool with that. That works for me. So here, well, now that we flip the Joker, our hero is going to be confronted by the villain, who is going to make themselves known by striking deep at the heart of the hero. There is a battle that happens. Lives are lost, whether literally or metaphorically. Destruction spreads. And hero, you are beaten back, at least for now. You will come back. Heroes always do, but this is your downfall. So how this is going to work, I'm going to ask every player 2 or 3 questions. Those questions we'll give those answers. All of our questions will collaboratively shape who the grand villain is, and then we will give the villain the spotlight and allow them to dramatically introduce themselves and wreak havoc on the town. Hero, your questions are first. What piece of yourself most scares you, and how do you see that amplified in the villain?
I think the power of kind of being very charismatic can also give you the ability to be quite manipulative. And maybe that's highly amplified in the villain.
I love that. That was what I was feeling. I felt similarly. What weakness, whether literal or metaphorical, are you afraid will be discovered, and how does the villain wield it?
I think maybe since the character isn't actually just, she's not actually just like a normal person from this town. I think a lot of like the news and stuff like that has probably been portraying her as like a hometown hero or something like that, but she's not. She's secretly an immortal god, basically. So
Right.
she's not, and people finding that out would cause them to lose hope in the fact that humanity can be so good. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my two questions: what part of the hero most scares you, and how is the villain the worst part of that, or the worst version of that? You have, through your actions, profoundly reshaped the city, and you've done it for the better. But there's a fear that comes with that. There is a fear that comes with that. It's largely a good fear. It's a fear of am I doing things that I need to reconsider, right? Like, am I going to do I need to change? And I think the villain is the worst part of that, because the villain represents change for the worse. In the way that you have represented change for like a force of change for the better, the villain represents change for the worse. And my second question: what is your biggest fear for the city, and how does the villain embody that? I'm afraid that the entire city is going to become by the highway. Like, everything else in the city has this particular charm to it, and then there's these big box stores that feel, the people working them, like the greeter and the people in inventory, like, they're all charming, lovely people, but the stores themselves are giant soulless corporate enterprises. The idea that that could become this whole small town is frightening. And I think something about that, right? That transformation, that loss of the love and the kindness and the warmth that embodies River or Brook River, that feels like it is embodied in our villain. And now at last we have three questions for our villain. What power do you crave, and how are you going to seize it?
I crave control and wealth, and I'm going to seize it by spreading out.
All right. What insurmountable odds does the hero have to overcome to defeat you?
Insurmountable wealth and power and influence.
What hidden weakness do you hope the hero never finds?
I am, in fact, a human being with a heart and not just a soulless monster.
That's a real good answer, is the thing. All right. Now at last, introduce yourself in all of your terrible glory to the other players. Describe your powers equal in measure to the hero. Describe your grand plans, and describe how, when the battle comes to you, you are able to overpower the hero.
The scene that I would like to do to introduce this villain. Is that cool?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I would like to think that our hero is working at the front desk of the veterinary clinic that they work at. And one day she looks up to see a very tall, very thin, bald man wearing a very nice tailored suit walk into the veterinary clinic. And she sees him look around and look at her, and he goes, "Well, I know who you are. You're the person who's been redeeming the soul of this town. You're the one who's been saving all these people and helping people fight against things they don't like, and we're now really promoting hope, and except, for that one time at the farmer's market, but we won't dwell on that, shall we? So interesting to meet you. Such a quaint little town. It's a shame it won't be here much longer."
Oh, I'm sorry. What was your name?
My name is E.S. Carroll. You might know me from that, company that likes to sell people goods. It's an online marketplace. We're expanding everywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't heard of it, but I'll have to look it up sometime.
It won't be difficult.
I I don't I don't know what you mean about this town not being here for much longer, but
Well, you see, we're looking to expand our efforts, and we could really, really use a location, a factory, a shipping center right here in this part of the country. This is just the perfect prime real estate for that to happen. And I always get what I want. So I love this piece of land. I love where this town currently is. And sooner or later, it will be mine.
um, okay. I don't think that at this time she has a comeback because this is the downfall.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And with that, once we have introduced ES Carol, if we were playing this in person, I would physically hand you the deck of cards that we have in front of us and said, I will take care of this part. I'm going to pull 5 cards from the top of our deck, and I'm going to throw them away. There's a mechanic for what happens when we have to shuffle the deck, which can only happen in this part of the game, so we will have to shuffle, and we'll shuffle in a moment. But right now, I'm just throwing 5 cards away. These cards don't get shuffled back into the deck. These cards are just gone forever, and they represent damage that has been done to the city, whether physical or metaphorical, that it can never recover from.
Oh wait, but the ace! Ah!
That ace is gone, and that ace is never coming back.
Dang it.
And so, because we ran out of cards in our deck and we have to shuffle, our town falls under a crisis. The shadow of the villain grows even larger. I'm going to ask each of you a question. Hero, what is your greatest fear for the city, and describe how it comes to pass?
I think some of the shops on Main Street start to close and the farmers market shuts down because bigger shops are starting to. The biggest fear for the city is gentrification.
Fair,
And
fair.
it happens.
I love it. It's very good. Villain, what power do you hope to obtain, and describe how you seize it?
I think the power I'm hoping to obtain was just described. I was wanting to buy all of these small town businesses and turn them into big box stores. And my ultimate plan is to slowly buy more and more of these small town businesses till it's all just big chain stores. So that way I can eventually do with the land what I want.
And my question, how do I hope the people of the city will rise to walk in the steps of the hero? And then I get to describe how that happens. I think that Flea Market Saturday never stops being a thing, no matter just even after the farmers market itself is bought out by ES Carroll, the Flea Market Saturday never stops being a thing. Like, people still get together every Saturday. They swap their goods, they sell their homemade crafts. All of the businesses that get bought out and replaced with these sort of soulless big box stores, they still sell their wares every Saturday, and they sell them for, however, whatever you can afford. Like, it becomes this very big act of communal resistance of, like, we are going to celebrate each other because we are all we have, and that spirit of togetherness, like, grows even stronger in the wake of all of this gentrification falling onto Brook River. The people stick together even in their lowest moments. And now we come back to our downfall. We have burned 5 cards out of the deck. That was 1 card for every renown the hero had. The bigger you are, the harder you fall. Hero, take a moment of silence to deal with the loss that the losses the city has suffered, and as the city, I will take a moment of silence to mourn the losses that we have taken. Villain, let us have this moment, and then we move on and play. I'm ready, and I'm gonna pick up the other Joker, the red Joker. This represents the hero's uprising. This represents your decision to come back, to move forward, to make it right, and to rise to the occasion. And here's the deal, hero. I think the people that come to you, I think it's those kids. I think it's the kids first and foremost. I think there's a real low period where it just feels like everything is toppled over, because that's what happens when people with money and power decide they're going to topple over things. And it's this group of kids that show up at your doorstep, and they're like, what do we do? What can we do? What is our option here? No one seems to want to do anything. No one seems to want to be the person to step forward. And whether it was a fist fight in the parking lot of Flea Market Saturday, or it was a fire at a printing press, or it was a power outage, or a cave collapse, or any number of horrifying things that no one wanted to step forward, you were the one that stepped forward. You were the one person. And you weren't always the person for the job, but you were the person that could talk to people and was willing to make those connections. And in this moment, you're the person that we need to make connections. We've got our friends in place. We've got people. We've got your back, but you need to do what you need to do, and you need to make connections with the people to make this something that isn't a corporate hellhole, because that is the road that we're headed towards, and we don't want that. And I get the feeling that you don't either.
So I think the hero, it happens like in the front office, and like all around there's like boarded up windows from buildings being closed down, and there's signs that say like building up for sale and stuff like that. And the vet is still open because like people still have pets, but it's a very sad street. And I think the hero just it has been kind of pulling back from I think after the whole thing at the flea market, she got a little bit scared, got a little too much attention, and started to worry, I'm coming across as not ordinary anymore. And I don't think that she wants that. I think she just wants to be one of the people, just be a part of the city. And so she finally just decides she's going to like rejoin the fight.
Excellent. And so we're going to take that other Joker and we're going to shuffle it into our deck. And this time, when we draw it, we won't back down, and we will take down the villain, and we will save the...
Awesome.
So what happens now is we just continue the game as normal, but also it's my game, so I can dictate the rules, and I think it's time for the uprising now. Normally, we would play through the game as normal, and we would get to explore the city in sort of the post-crisis world, but I feel like I want the uprising now. I feel like that builds to a nice uprising, and if it's okay with the both of you, I would like to propose that we just dive right into that.
That's where I thought we were going, so I'm more than
I'm
happy
down
with
for
that.
it.
Hell yeah. All right. So, the uprising, it has all led to this. We are back in the villain's place of power. This is the final confrontation. You have fought your way back, you have brought people together, and now it's time to finish this. Villain, describe your place of power now that you're at the height of your glory. Describe the insurmountable odds the hero will have to overcome. Talk about how the hero failed to stop you last time. Describe the power that you seek and the power that you have. Note the times the hero failed. Name the people they couldn't save, and ask the hero why they think they can change things now.
So our villain has probably not stayed in this town this entire time the gentrification process was happening. He's probably come and gone, but now he's probably back. He's probably visiting, seeing how things are progressing. He's just like basically almost everyone who's in this town now works for him. It's lots of yes men. He is using his, like, we talked about, like, the manipulative charisma. That's exactly what he's doing. That is sort of his MO. That's how he's gotten all of his power and all of his wealth. And I think what the hero's trying to get past is the fact that his reach is already, like, so, like, widespread in this town already. He's starting to, like, I think at this point, like, more than half of the town he owns. And so it's becoming more and more difficult to regain the original charm of the town and the small business ownership that once was. And the hero failed to stop me last time because I was able to start buying things up. I've started to put my grubby little paws all over this town. I want all of it. I want the entire town. I already have most of it. I want the rest of it. I want to slowly or as quickly, like slowly, but as quickly as I can, turn this place into another hub of my business. I want to use it to make all the money I possibly can. And I think that the villain has taken note of the fact that the hero has sort of stepped back a little bit, reflected on the failure of the hero to maintain that fight at that one flea market. And I think that E.S. Carroll probably took that as an indication of like, okay, so this person is losing a bit of power. It's time for me to go in and swoop in and start to stake my claim. And so there is probably a moment when E.S. Carroll and our hero face off, and the hero confronts Carroll, and Carroll is just like, why are you still here? Why are you still talking to me? I thought we finished this conversation months ago. I'm already here. I'm already winning. What are you going to do about it?
When we met, you told me that you've always gotten what you wanted.
That clearly hasn't changed.
I'm sorry for you.
Sorry
Getting
for
what you
what?
want isn't how you win.
Then what is winning?
And I think this is where I get to step in, because this is where the city gets to tell the hero what they need to hear, and give them the weight to stand tall at this moment. And I think at this moment, people show up. Everybody shows up, right? Like I think the first person we see is that angry single dad wrangling his 3 kids as he kind of pushes them, and he's like, "No, we need to. This is an important symbolic moment. We will go if we behave. We will all get to watch Dragon Ball Super Broly again, and I know you are all excited to watch it again. We will watch it if we behave. Are we good? All right. I'm excited. I get to watch Dragon Ball." I think he's kind of like successfully wrangled the kids, and like the sort of the youth movement is behind them, and everybody's here, and like the gang has like the town has rallied. Of all of the people that you have helped have all rallied, and like there's this moment where you are backed by this entire town that has refused to accept E.S. Carroll's E.S. Carroll's attempts to buy out the soul of Brook River. And there's this moment where it's just you're standing with all of these people, and it's this great powerful moment, and then away in the back of the crowd, but the riot does not break out, but our friend who yells riot is here, and that is important. And so I ask you as the hero, how do you save the day?
I think I melt the Grinch's heart. I think that the hero, when she says that's not how you win, the villain, I mean, I imagine gets very flustered and angry about it. And he's just saying over and over again, "You're wrong. No, 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 no." And then, when he says like, "Yeah, okay, so tell me, how do you win?" And then she just, at that moment, maybe they're like in his office or something like that. Is that what you're imagining, or are we outside? What are you picturing?
Okay, so I think we could be outside for this. I think it could be like he's wearing a hard hat at like a construction site, like overseeing some new building that's being built.
Nice. And so I think as he's like shouting and yelling, the construction workers behind him just start like putting down their stuff and taking off their hats and joining the crowd. And then like he probably has a sidekick who's like a person with a clipboard, and they also join the crowd, and like slowly the crowd's just getting bigger and bigger, and he doesn't even see it behind him. And then when he says, "How do you win?" she just kind of like nods her head, doesn't even say anything, just kind of nods her head toward the crowd behind him.
I think at this point with the villain, he probably is like looking around, realizing he's lost. He's understanding that apparently these people love this town a lot, and I guess there's something worth keeping here. I don't think he quite understands what it is, but I think he understands that he's lost, but he doesn't want to admit it. So it's probably very like looks around and very silently just pulls out his cell phone, calls someone, is like, "Hello, yeah, the Brook River project, cancel it. It's not worth it," and then probably hangs up and just leaves.
And thus the day is saved. And thus we skip ahead to our final segment until next time. The villain is defeated. The city is at peace. There will be another villain in time. We always have to sell another issue at some point or another. But for now, there is quiet. For now, there is only a city. And for now, the hero can rest. We each have one more prompt, and then we end our game. First is the city. I will describe how the city recovers from the villain's actions. I will describe how the hero's influence makes the city a better place and how their legacy is carried on in the hearts of the people. I think the specific way the city recovers and the way that the hero's influence lives on is there is a huge community effort to rebuild the River Reader. A perfect like modern. It's not a replica. It's a modern reinvention of like what that building was, because that building was created 117 years ago. This is the version of that building that is created today, because it is a tribute to the fact that we are here right now. And I think breaking the rules of the game a little bit, which I can do that because I made it, but also anyone can, because who am I? I am no one. I am not at your table. Give me no special power, those listening and playing the game. I'm going to say what we see is, I was getting all ready to do a big, cool like thing. And then I just realized what I'm about to describe is the ending to Animal House, where they do the freeze frame and they tell you where the characters end up. We get shots of a lot of the kids in the youth movement, and it's like, United States Senator. It's like mayor of Riverbrook from these years. And it's like spearheaded like green environmental regulation project that was a town-wide initiative. Like we get a lot of pictures of this youth movement of like, and they all go on to do these very big, powerful things, right? Like they impact the world in very prominent and important ways. And we get pictures of like the River Reader is rebuilt, and flash byline, like, it turns it into a very, like, rather than just being a small town paper, it's a very big look at, it's like a very invaluable like resource about like life in a small town and keeping people connected and talking about like important local issues, like, like city funding and infrastructure, and making sure that people have what they need. And it's this very like, it becomes this very progressive paper that like is helping a lot of people in very direct and tangible ways. And that is sort of how our hero's influence is felt, is that the city becomes one that is more actively invested in making sure that the people in this small town are taken care of. And now I throw it to the villain and I ask, how does the city mourn its lost? And how does the shadow, how is there still a shadow cast by the villain?
I think I'm going to have those two questions sort of go hand in hand. So, like, the shadow still cast by the villain is all of the new construction in town that, like, knocked down all of the old quaint architecture and put up, like, really sterile, like, office buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if, in order to help get those businesses back on their feet, they provide space in those newly built buildings for the businesses that were bought up or put out of business during the takeover, and maybe they also start some sort of like startup fund for people who want to launch new small businesses.
I love it. It's perfect. And last but certainly not least, Hero, please describe how for an all too brief moment you're able to rest, celebrate your victory, spend some downtime, pay respects to those that helped you win and those that fell along the way, and again, and most importantly, rest.
A lot of this happens in that same scene where they show like the freeze frame of all the people. That they'll have her in a lot of these pictures, like not like the future pictures, but like the current pictures. Like as they're all celebrating, they probably have like a big party at the farmers market on flea market Saturday that like it's like the biggest one that they've ever had. And she definitely, like, all of the people that she's met are there. Like the cashier and that kid with the video games, the random lady who was super buff that is the one that actually moved the tree, and the reporter and his dog, and all of these people, they're all like, and they also, after the party they continue to stop into the vet every couple weeks, and they just talk. And she's nobody's therapist, she's just a friend. And I think she definitely like helps with the effort to kind of start to rebuild some of the shops on Main Street, as to pay respect to the loss of those businesses and the people that obviously like didn't have income for a long time when all those things started closing down. She's really trying to help rebuild those smaller businesses and give back to the community. But then I think she doesn't get a freeze frame in that montage, I guess. And eventually, it's a couple weeks. They've started, the plans are in motion. The kids of the neighborhood have really started to grow into their social action voices. And there's like this just one day where she is in the vet office and she has a new assistant who's like been helping out, and that girl like leaves to go home for the night, and they're like celebrating that girl like becoming a veterinarian. That girl leaves, and then the hero goes into the back closet and walks into a magical portal and disappears.
Beautiful. Perfect. And that's game. That's it. That's Anyone Can Wear the Mask.
Turned your game into a Hallmark movie.
I've never been happier. I didn't see it coming, but I can't say that I'm not smiling ear to ear. So it is what it is.
I didn't expect that.
I did not expect it.
I love it.
Well, thank you both so much for playing this game with me. This was the best time. I could not be happier.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun.
We turn the page and see the storyteller once more, this time in a full coat and gloves. He smiles at us kindly and says, "Well, that was quite lovely, such a pleasant tale. It's nice when our heroes are doomed not to fail. I hope your holidays have been merry and bright, but now I must bid you adieu and good night. My bones ache with cold and I'm feeling a chill. But do visit again, I know that you will, for another story of holiday cheer. For now, happy holidays and a merry new year." He steps into the house and closes the door behind him. As he does, we get a pulled back shot, revealing that that same snow-covered house is indeed inside the snow globe we saw on the cover. And with that, our story comes to an end. Moon Harbor Heroes is produced by Anthony Sheets, T.P. Huth, and Elliot Peterson, and edited by Anthony Sheets and Sean Geddes. Anthony can be found on Twitter at IcyNewYear or at icynewyear.com. T is a theater artist and educator in the DC area. She can be found at T Huth Playwright on Twitter or TPHuth94 on Instagram. Elliot can be found at Elliot Ylen on Twitter. That's ELLIOTYLEN. Sean can be found at The Crumpit, THECRUMPIT, on Twitter. This Storyteller issue was played using Anyone Can Wear the Mask, written by Jeff Stormer. Jeff Stormer, he, him, his, is an award-winning podcaster, game designer, the unofficial official LARP designer of the Olive Garden restaurant, and the designer of Anyone Can Wear the Mask. He lives with his wife in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and spends most of his time, when not podcasting or game designing, screaming at people at indie wrestling shows. Our logo was designed by Beautiful Beasties. She can be found on Instagram at beastly.doodles or on Patreon at patreon.com/beautifulbeasties. The music in this issue is Teddy Bear Waltz by Kevin MacLeod. A link to his website and a license will be in the show notes. The city was played by Jeff Stormer. The hero was played by Rose Hahn. Rose is an actor, content creator, and mental health advocate. Her podcast, What Was I Saying? Living with ADHD, can be found on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play Music, or on Twitter at what_was-I-saying. She can be found on Twitter or Instagram at Smiley Rosie. SMILEYROSEYYYYY. The villain was played by Jane Barry. You can find her at Jane-Tarzan on Twitter. If you want to get a hold of us, email us at moonharborheroes@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at moonharborcast. If you enjoyed this issue, please leave us a review on your podcatcher of choice or tell a friend. 5-star reviews and word of mouth are really the best way for us to keep bringing these stories to more people. If you'd like to support us financially, check us out at patreon.com/moonharborheroes. Supporting us there will give you access to bonus issues each month. And thank you for helping us save the world. We'll see you next issue.